pretty far, all things considered. Thanks for your applause. Still, every time I close the door and another won't open, I get this panic that my life is now on pause. The docket's cleared, the board's been cleaned, there's nothing left on my screen. The plate is empty, so it seems. Now is the time to ask, okay, what's next? This was fun while it lasted, nothing comes to you asking, so I'd really like to know what's next. Around the corner, down the street, whatever's meant for me to meet, I'm waiting for it anxiously, so tell me please, what's next? Haunting me and I'd like it to go. See, I could be 103 and still moving slow, full of promise and potential till my eyes finally close. But I got time, got years and years, work to do, but I got fears and there's a ringing in my ears. So still I gotta ask, okay, what's next? This was fun while it lasted, nothing comes to you asking, so I'd really like to know what's next. Around the corner, down the street, whatever's meant for me to meet, I'm waiting for it anxiously, so tell me please, what's next?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful, transformative, awakening, healing, chaotic planet of ours. This is Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's move into what I like to say is the magic of the moment and have a discussion. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about being alive is also walking with ghosts, and talking about what ghosts are, talking about the burden that some of us feel with grieving, for those of us that have lost loved ones. To be alive is to walk with ghosts, and it's something that came up. It's come up a couple times now. That I've noticed when I'm either watching a show, the message seems to be there, or I'm reading a book, the message seems to pop up. And for those of you that follow my work, you know that I'm all about, as a numerologist, I'm all about patterns and trends and things that repeat. The lesson repeats until it completes. What we resist persists, those universal laws. And so I talk about that a lot in our consciousness, in the human consciousness. And so today's message is to be alive is to walk with ghosts. And because at the end of the day, we're all ghosts if you think about it. So grab your coffee, grab your tea. We're gonna have a discussion this morning. I got my Mando mug. So thank you to my mother-in-law, Debbie, for purchasing this for me and sending it to me for Metaphysical Mocha Monday. So kind of a cool mug, coffee mug with Grogu, aka Baby Yoda, the Mandalorian. Season 3 is coming out, but before that's Boba Fett this December. For all you nerds out there, all you geeks out there. Speaking of nerds and geeks, tomorrow William Shatner Welcome to our Roaring 20s, guys. This is how cool of a decade that we're living in. I know it doesn't seem cool right now with all the stuff that's going on, all the transformations that are taking place. Let me just move my box over here so I can see both the YouTube feed, or the YouTube feed. I'm not even on YouTube. The Facebook feed and the Zoom feed. So welcome to the Roaring 20s. And tomorrow, William Shatner, aka Captain Kirk, is going to space. I mean, how cool is that? I grew up watching Star Trek, and for all you Trekkie fans out there, now, I'm a Star Wars fan first, Star Trek second, but it's just really cool to see what we're seeing unfold in real time. Our discussions about openly discussions and logical discussions about UFOs, UAPs. The government is acknowledging that as we move into the next industrial revolution of our time, which is space exploration. They're about to launch a satellite into an asteroid to see if that changes the trajectory of the asteroid. Captain Kirk's going to space tomorrow. We just had 4 astronauts. Actually, they weren't astronauts. They didn't control any of the capsules. With SpaceX went around the planet 3 times or 15 times over 3 days. So there's a lot of things that are starting to open up and unfold, and the way technology is going, and how we're getting into more in-depth discussions about quantum physics and quantum mechanics and quantum computing. That's stuff that I pay attention to because that has a direct impact on us. Socially, consciously, technology. If you don't think technology has a big input on our way of life and where we're being, just look at Facebook. Look at where you're watching this right now on Facebook. The whistleblower came out last Monday or last Sunday on 60 Minutes, and I did my show on Monday morning, and it was right after the show ended. And I was talking about the whistleblower, how this whistleblower is going to change social media algorithms, what kind of stuff is put out there. Going more to social media has caused great divides, and it's created 2 paradigms. Literally, it's created 2 different realities where people believe, for example, today, Happy Indigenous People Day, but some people are going to say Happy Columbus Day. So we have people that believe that this is Columbus Day. We're moving into a change, which should be honored by history of Indigenous people. They were here first, not Columbus. Columbus came here and not only conquered, but brought disease and wiped out the Indigenous people. So we're getting back to some of our history and getting back to what should be corrected, statues being replaced, in National Indigenous People Day. But that's going to not sit well with some people. Even some of you may be watching the show, it doesn't sit well, but that's where we're going. We're 2 different realities. It's a one time in my life that I've seen you can sit next to somebody and they can have a completely different alternative viewpoint and reality, which is fine. Perspective is fine in life, but when it gets into anti-science, public health, not wearing a mask, not being vaccinated, believing that the world is flat when the universe tells us everything else is round, believing that the sky is red when actually we know from looking through our physical eyes that the sky is blue. But we're in 2 different realities now, and part of that is because of social media. And I've talked about this for about 2 or 3 years now. For those of you that follow my work, some of the prediction shows that I do at the beginning of the year on my podcast, Inspired Living Radio, I talked about how the Roaring 20s is going to change us, transform us, divide us, inspire us. But I also saw this great coming together. And before we get to this great coming together, I also talked about there's going to be something, a catalyst, a trigger that triggers people to say, you know what, we're better together than we are apart. But it's gonna take some, realization and some pain and some experiences, because I also see that where the United States is going, just to, not to be an alarmist, but to sound the alarm. When there's a fire, you pull the fire alarm, right? When you see something that's bad, that's burning, that's dangerous, you pull a fire alarm to get response. And I'm pulling that fire alarm for the United States because social media has changed how people see the world, and it's going to create some sort of either revolution, civil war, national divorce within the United States. People are already talking about it. I'm catching it, it's slowly coming up in some of the media shows that I've been tracking. It's coming up in news cycles. It's coming up in articles. I'm even seeing polls where half the country now thinks that the states should succeed from one another, blue versus red. It's quite sad, but that's part of history too. History is, I always remind people, history is not for us to like or dislike. It's there to teach us to not repeat our patterns, and hopefully we don't do that. So there's a lot going on, 2 different realities. Happy Indigenous People Day. I'm staying with that. I'm wearing for those of you that have seen Les Mis, you may recognize this shirt, 24601. Sometimes I feel like I'm a number in the matrix, and some of the stuff, the patterns that I see and the things that unfold, it sometimes makes me wonder if I'm in the matrix. For example, and maybe we are. Maybe this whole thing is a simulated game. Scientists have been talking about this. Maybe there's an intelligence that's way farther advanced, and we're just in some sort of simulation video game like Pac-Man or Donkey Kong, and they're watching and playing this reality show that us humans seem to thrive in, with chaos and drama and violence and fear. And but the other night we were watching, we started the first episode of Squid Games on Netflix just to see what it was like, just to see what it's all about, because it's getting all this buzz. And we watched the first episode, and it wasn't on my phone. There's no way that they knew that I was watching this show unless it's tracked through my cable Netflix channel. And I come upstairs and I open up TikTok. It was right before bed, and the first video playing is on TikTok is this video of these kids that are running in the if you've seen the first episode, there's this big statue that turns its head. It's red light, green light, and it turns its head. And that's what's playing on my Instagram and my TikTok. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I am in the matrix. They are watching me. So last week we got done with the first show. I was talking about the whistleblower, and let me come back to the message about how social media has changed us. If you've not seen Fake Famous, I recommend checking that documentary out. If you've not seen The Social Dilemma, about the makers of social media talking about how this is destroying the foundations of our country, please check that out. Very eye-opening. You decide for yourself. I have watched both of them. It's changed my social media behavior. I do here on Facebook and YouTube, but I'm doing a lot more fun stuff and inspirational stuff over on TikTok too. So make sure to follow my account, The Intuitive Prospector, over on TikTok. But what social media is going to happen with this whistleblower is it's going to change. There's going to be new regulations. There's going to be new oversight. The government has no choice but to step in, because it's caused dangerous from politics to democracy to personal threats. I was actually, last year, I was personally threatened with my life. Somebody didn't agree with what I said, and they threatened me. And it was just like, wow, okay, this is kind of getting real. So I talked about the Fairness Doctrine Act from 1949. It was a doctrine that was put in place when television started to come into the homes of families. And I've talked about this for 2 or 3 years now, guys. This isn't nothing new. But the Fairness Doctrine Act is going to be applied at some point to social media about what's misinformation, including this pandemic. There's a lot of misinformation. It's caused a lot of divide with family and friends and colleagues. I try to tell people I've been a certified healthcare provider for 25 years. I work in healthcare. I work at the hospital down here in Seattle, Harborview Medical Center. It is real. It is killing people. The vaccinations work. I know not everybody can get vaccinated. I'm not here as a pro-vaccinated, but there are certain times in history when you need to have vaccinations in order to move past a virus like COVID, smallpox, polio. These are times they weren't herd immunity. And because we're so divided, I don't think COVID will ever get to herd immunity. And there's no cure for COVID, just like AIDS. AIDS have been around for a long time and we forget about it because it's not actually talked about. But COVID's going to be around with us well into 22, well into 2023 and moving forward. So I hope that we have this great coming together and that people can start working together and start to get away from some of the social media crap and misinformation and divide. YouTube just took a big stand and pulled a lot of videos down that are misinformation, which is great. People are going to say, oh, you're being censored. No, it's not censored if you're telling lies and spreading lies. That's anti-science. That's not First Amendment. People are like, well, that's First Amendment rights. Learn the Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist. Learn what the amendments are about. Learn about what your First Amendment right truly represents. You don't get to go onto a plane and yell bomb. You don't get to run into a movie theater and yell fire. And you don't get to go on social media and spread misinformation that has killed lots and lots of people, only not in the United States, but around the world. So if you ever want to have a conversation about the Constitution, or you want to have a different perspective and debate, I've got it right here, Constitution of the United States. Because I'm a veteran, I raised my hand to defend the Constitution of the United States against enemies foreign and domestic. That's where my allegiance lies, not to politics, not to a political faction. And I hope that I use these platforms for positivity, to bring people together, not to divide people. But no matter what I say, there's always one person that's going to not like what I say and rally against that. And that's just life. That's just human consciousness. But Facebook's changing because of this whistleblower. And when I finished my show last week, I got done talking about the whistleblower and how social media and how Facebook's algorithms are going to have to change and start to use social media in a different way, because it has changed society. And then I went to do my after show. This week we're going to call it the Compassion Cafe. It's either the Healing Cafe, the Inspirational Cafe, and I was going to do the Compassion Cafe and do readings and connect with all of you live. And I couldn't get back on the Facebook platform. And my first thought from an ego standpoint was, oh my God, they pulled my page down because I was talking about this. Well, that's the same time that the entire platform, both Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp, all went down for most of the day, which I thought was very interesting and coincidental and synchronistic. But there's a lot going on in our world. And I don't believe this, people keep asking me, Mark, is this the end of the world? I don't truly believe that it is. I believe that it's a great transformation and great change. And when we go through great change and transformation, just like when the caterpillar becomes the butterfly, it's a struggle. It's hard. And I feel like this is where we're at with, everything from politics to pride to pandemic, the 3 Ps that have really caused where we're at in society today. And I think it's transformation. I think change is part of the transformation. I had a picture here that I posted on my Facebook page, and it shows, this graph of, it's filled with red, and it says the end of the world, what it seemed like. And then we'll go back at this and what it was actually was, is this all unpleasant? It very much is, but it's a lesson to be learned. And I think that's all this is. It's a lesson to be learned with what we're going through of transformation. And that's transformation, like you said, is hard. It's like the diamond doesn't become the diamond without extreme pressures on the piece of coal that's deep in the earth and in the darkness. And after some time, it's revealed with its splendor. Or you even take it one step further, and a disco ball is a series of broken glass put together to create rays of light and dance and joy. And I think that's this brokenness that we're all going through, this loss. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that COVID has not come to my doorsteps. It has. My wife and I were just talking about this last February. We did a workshop here in Seattle. I'm not sure that I had influenza type A. I never got tested because it was just, the pandemic really fully broke out in March. But I look back and say, I wonder if I did have the onset of COVID. And then, we've had family members impacted by it. We've had friends. I've actually had a friend and a colleague pass from it, from COVID. So it's right at my doorstep. I'm very much aware of COVID and its harmful impacts to our society. But I also learned as a spiritualist, as a teacher, as a metaphysical numerologist, that pain and chaos create consciousness. And if we're a series of broken glass, I do believe with this great coming together, even if there is a civil war or a second revolution or a national divorce in the United States, I do believe that this great coming together will pull a majority of the people together, just like broken glass and a disco ball, to move forward for the progression of humans, for the progression of public health, public education. And if you go back to history, guys, go back to history. I'm reading the memoirs right here of Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant, pre and post Civil War, to learn about the times and what was going on. You'll learn that history, there's always been 30% of the population that will resist and fight change no matter what. And that's just part of who we are. And that's a part of history. But 70% is more than 30%. And that's where we're going. And that's that broken glass of what we've all gone through with this pandemic and this politics and this divide that's going to pull us together to reflect positivity and encouragement, inspiration, and light and hope. Because I always do believe that there is hope. I also believe in the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the patience to accept the things I cannot change. And I can't change a lot of what's going on, and that's okay. But I also have the courage to change the things I know that I can. And that's why I come on Monday mornings to continue to try to inspire, to encourage, to motivate, to give you a different perspective. Is my perspective right? No, it's just my perspective, but it gives discussion and communications and civil debates. We need to have more civil debates with one another. And, our first teacher is our own heart. That's actually a Cheyenne proverb. And since it's Indigenous People Day, we need to know that our teacher is our own heart. And I do believe in the great coming together that I've seen in my predictions during our Roaring 20s. So, it's that shift too about today's message, in the fact that we're all alive, but at the same time, death does not escape any one of us. When I was a child, I was afraid of ghosts. I was afraid of Hollywood movies, and when I saw The Shining, freaked the hell out of me. I saw The Shining, and I couldn't sleep for weeks. The little twin daughters at the end of the hallway. I actually had that big wheel that, Johnny would ride. And it scared me. And when I was a child, I was afraid of ghosts. And as I grew up, I realized that people are more scarier. And I realized that, during the day, I'm not so as was afraid of ghosts. It was more at night. And now I'm a little bit more open-minded because I have a lot of interactions with the spirit world, a lot of things that you don't see here that you feel or you see with your third eye. And I think with the extreme traumas and tragedies I went through, that opened me up to rewire me, if you will, neuroplasticity of the brain to look at the world differently. Trust me, I didn't ask for it. I didn't raise my hand and say, hey, take both my brothers and my father-in-law at the same time through great different tragedies. That's not what I asked for, but life doesn't ask us what we want. Life doesn't, tell us, this is the plan, it's not a straight linear line. But there was a quote from T.S. Eliot that I wanted to read, and I thought it was a good quote. And it says here, "The lawn is pressed by unseen feet, and ghosts return gently at twilight. Gently go at dawn, the sad, intangible who grieve and yearn." And that's from T.S. Eliot. And, there's a lot of truth to that, because to be alive is to walk with ghosts. It's that duality, if you will. It's the duality of, like right now, some people see it as Happy Columbus Day, and other people, the duality, who are awakening and transforming and seeing, what history really was and is, and what was done in history, which was great murder and violence and chaos to the indigenous people. And today we celebrate Indigenous People Day. That's what I'm celebrating. Great injustices. I wear this shirt for a reason. For those of you that seen Les Mis, you know what this number represents. And we're all born with a number, right? We all have a social security number. So in the sense, we're all the same. We have different perspectives and different beliefs, and we look different based on, our skin color, our sexual orientation, our sexual preferences. But at the end of the day, we're all walking each other home. We're all terminal with death and dying and moving to something, what I say is the next adventure. I always say in the spirit world, there is no time as we know it. Past and future do not exist. All time is now. And, we're the only species that measures our life by time. But the burden of being alive is also knowing that we walk with ghosts, and ghosts walk with us. Now, what is a ghost? When I was raised with a religious belief that ghosts were trapped. Ghosts were, not good enough to get into heaven and not bad enough to get into hell. And what, the religion that I was brought up in was taught purgatory. Now, the doctrine doesn't teach purgatory anymore. They've since then changed that. And it makes sense, because I apply a lot of what I do spiritually with the scientific method and science. And physics tells us you're either here or you're there. Energy doesn't just hang out. We're all energy. So you're either here, you turn a light bulb on, and the energy's in the light bulb. You turn the light bulb off, the energy returns to the source. It doesn't just hang out in the wiring. And if you just apply the laws of physics, I look at the same thing when people say, "Oh, I saw a ghost." Well, you may have seen the residual energy of somebody, whether they lived in a house for a long time, or maybe there's an object that they wore that you get that energy and the sense of their energy, but that doesn't mean that they're hanging out. And, ghosts are what I would call intelligent energy and residual energy. And residual energy is just picking up like patterns. Like, for example, this necklace that I wear, I've had this necklace for a while now, right? This necklace, when I pass over, maybe somebody takes this necklace and they hold on to it, or this necklace is sitting in a drawer somewhere, my energy is still in this, because everything is energy. And you may pick up on my residual energy. Now, if that's, when you have an experience with a ghost, do a communication with them. And if they communicate back with you, then that means that is a spirit person that has crossed over from the etheric plane back into the physical, because they're communicating with you intelligently, through love and through intelligence and through evidence. So, for example, when I'm doing a paranormal investigation, I'll do a haircut and a shave. And I'll wait for a response. And if I get then I know that there's communications based on rapping, based on intelligent communications. But if there's no back and forth communications, then that's residual energy. And that's what a ghost would represent. And that's what I teach on. That's my studies. Those are my papers I've written. That's what history has taught us. That's the laws of physics and science. What's interesting, they just did a poll, and 49%, that means half the population out there that were polled in this poll through one of the universities, now believe in ghosts. Okay. That's different than 40 years ago. So when I was 10 years old, 40 years ago, only 11% of people believed in ghosts. So there's been a transformation. Whether you call it a ghost, a soul, a spirit person, a being, that's subjective based on you. But it shows me that consciousness is changing, that beliefs are changing, that more people are believing in a spirit world, and that the energy in your heart has to go somewhere by the laws of physics. Now, do I believe that it goes up to heaven or down to hell? No, because I'm living on a round planet. So metaphysically, there is no up or down because I'm on a round planet circling a ball of fire. So I personally, in my experiences and my studies and my development, I call it a world within our world. The etheric world is part of our energy, part of our world. It's just in a different way. It's in a different vibration. It's like communicating with a baby in the womb. The baby is there. We know it's there, but we can't actually, you can feel its movement. You can hear its heartbeat. It's breathing liquid. It's not breathing air. So it's in a different form. It's in a different state. That's what death is. That's what John Lennon said. Death is not the end. Death is like a new adventure. It's like getting out of one car and getting into another. And when you are alive, you know that ghosts are walking with us. They're a part of our world, a world within a world. And when you tune into that, you become more aware of that. It's not as scary as you think it is. You know, ghosts don't haunt us. That's not how this works. I don't personally believe. It's like when somebody says, I'll pay you thousands of dollars to move this ghost over to the other side, to move this spirit out of this house. I don't believe we have that power. That's pretty egotistical and pretty godlike to think that we can move something because we said we could. I believe in intentions and energy following intentions and cleansing energy out of a space based on that. But to move a spirit over, and people make thousands of dollars on that. To me, it's a scam. It's a sham. But ghosts don't haunt us. That's not how it works. They present among us because we won't let go of them. And for those of you that have lost, those of you that have gone through grieving and death and dying like myself on extreme deep levels, sometimes we don't get closure. Sometimes the grieving process is we don't get to say that last goodbye. We don't get to say, I'm sorry. We don't get closure, but we have to keep moving forward. And that's what, being alive and walking with ghosts represents. And it's called a spiritual burden. Walking, knowing that it's not goodbye. It's just until I see you again. And knowing that the pain of that physical loss will be with you. Grief never leaves you, you guys. When you lose something or someone, whether it's a fur baby, I've lost my brothers, my dad, my uncle, my cousin, good friends. I've lost a lot of people along the way, and that brings me down, but it also gives me hope and inspiration, encouragement to know that I will see them again. And I've already had experiences with them in the physical world. They've come through several, either indirectly or directly to me or indirectly. Yesterday I had a reading at service. Nice young lady gave me a reading at service yesterday, and it was awesome, and it's something I need to hear. And I get those messages all the time, and as a medium, I give those messages to people that need that hope or that understanding, or just knowing that they're okay and that they didn't suffer. So being alive is to walk with ghosts. But I'm pretty happy that science and spirituality are working together. I don't see that so much with just basic religions. It's like basic religions tell these stories, but they don't want to bring the scientific method into it. There's a lot of times that I'm like, I'm supposed to believe this story that's 2,000, 3,000 years old based on faith, but it doesn't rationalize based on, I've always had a problem with Noah's Ark, to be honest with you, from a science standpoint. And even veterinarians, experts today said, there's no way you could put a bunch of animals on a boat and have them live in harmony. And I just, there's things that they're great stories, but, it's also the same truth that I've learned along the spiritual path that, when we have an experience and we talk about that openly, it's kind of like, Mental Health Day was yesterday, and, celebrating and acknowledging Mental Health Day to help people. I think the same thing can be true with people that have had experiences, because when we have an experience, and I've had plenty, logically, I try to debunk and rationalize through the scientific method, and I can't debunk them. I can't come to a reasoning or an understanding or an actual answer for some of the questions I have. And when we talk about that openly, people say, oh, you're insane, you're crazy. But if somebody else talks about it and puts it into a book and it dates, we call that religion. And if you think about a lot of the stories that are in the Bible, and I have my Bible right here, I study scripture, I study the Christianity, I study Krishna, I study Buddhism, I study Hinduism, I study Judaism, the Quran. I look at all the world religions, and there's a lot of stories in there, but those don't make it true. And it's that's what I like about spirituality, because it's about you finding your own truth for what's right for you, not what I say, not what a book says, but finding truth based on your journey as a prospector to find that diamond within. And like I said, when we're alive, it's like walking with ghosts, and that's okay, because eventually we will be on the other side walking with those that are still living and be the ghosts. But nothing to be scared of, nothing to fear of. Ghosts were people at one time too, and we're all walking each other home, as Ram Dass used to talk about. So it's October, spooky month. I like October, because it celebrates a lot of what we call scary, but I don't think it needs to be scary anymore. And it's part of the burden of dealing with death and dying and grieving in your own grief. I say honor your grief, but to be alive is to walk with ghosts, and we're all walking with ghosts, and eventually we're going to join that ghost as well. So again, 49% of the population polled today believe in some sort of ghost, some sort of next journey. 70% believe in UFOs. That you go back to the 50s, there wasn't, I'd say probably 40% believed in UFOs, UAPs, little green men. That's going to be part of our Roaring 20s, you guys. That's going to be part of this transformation of knowledge and wisdom and enlightenment and experiences. And the next industrial revolution of our times, moving into space. More people are moving to space. Tomorrow, Captain Kirk, William Shatner's going to space. How cool is that? So we're transforming, we're awakening. There's still more difficulties to come. There's still more COVID to go through. There's still more politics to go through, especially here in the United States, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, I do believe in the great coming together. And as a bowl gets shattered in Japanese philosophy and Japanese, culture, when a bowl is shattered, they don't repair the bowl with glue, they repair it with gold. And the gold can be clearly seen that this bowl was once broken, and we're all broken. But at the end of the day, the bowl is actually worth more because it's filled with gold, and you can see that it was filled with gold, and it's worth more, and it's a better bowl. And I think that's where we're going. I've had relationship changes the last 2 years because of all this, family relationships, but we can also have grace. We can also have serenity. We can also have forgiveness. I'm working hard at that. I've made mistakes. I try to do the best I can. I try to use these platforms for positivity. And I hope that you'll do the same, because the one thing I've learned in this journey, everybody has different opinions and egos and ideas and judgments, but in the end, we can always be kind. And that's what I have to remind myself when I woke up this morning, feeling pretty down the last few weeks with everything unfolding as it is. I am human. I do experience empathy and sensitivity of our times. But I also realize when the times are chaotic and rough, we can always choose to be kind. And that's what I hope you do today. I hope you choose to be kind. I hope that you, choose in science and a moral compass and a moral standard for who we are and where we're going, because the alternative is not what we want. And of course, coffee is always helpful. So thanks for hanging out with me today on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. We'll get ready for the Compassion Cafe. That's if Facebook doesn't go down again and shut down like it did last Monday. I appreciate you following my work. I appreciate you tuning in on Mondays. I hope these shows help. Please, visit me at marclainhart.com. Visit me on YouTube, some of my channels. You can also visit my podcast show. This week, we're going to have a special guest on talking about animal intuitions and trusting your animal instincts, which will be a great show. That's on Wednesdays afternoon live, and then it streams through your favorite podcasting platform. You can follow me over on Instagram or TikTok. Kind of some different stuff over there that I'm doing. You can also follow me at Learn It Live and or Insight Timer. Those are two of the platforms I'm teaching on with meditations. And you can also follow me through your Alexa. If you have Alexa, just say, Alexa, open up positive living, and you'll get spiritual tips, daily tips to help you on your journey and to remind you where we're all going. Because again, to be alive is to walk with ghosts. And that is the duality of who we are, knowing that when this life ends, when something ends, something new begins. That is just the journey of life, and that is just the foundations of life. So thanks for hanging out with me. I'll get ready for the Compassion Cafe in here in just a few minutes, and have a great rest of your week. Mercury retrograde until the 18th, And there are some events coming up at the end of the month, so make sure to go to marclainhart.com and click on the events tab. They're doing a mediumship demonstration and a Q&A. So if you have questions, that one's free. And then the mediumship demonstration, I think, is like $20. That'll be on Halloween. So I hope that you'll join us for those two events. And we'll see you next time here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. And have a great rest of your week, everybody. Take care. And until our next soul adventure together, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within. And most importantly, in our society right now, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. We'll see you next week here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. Take care, everybody. Namaste.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.